everyone to this edition of City Chat with City Magazine. My name is Kilee Harmon and I'm General Manager of City Magazine. And today we're visiting with one of the best chefs in town. Every single time I go to his restaurant, my belly is just expanded. Stuart Tracy, who is the executive chef and owner of Pirogue Grille. Hello, how are you today?
Very fine, how are you?
Good, are you excited to be here?
Absolutely.
Wonderful, wonderful. So now tell me, it's been 6 years since you guys opened.
Yeah.
What made you, your career-wise, get to the point of opening up a restaurant?
It was either open up a restaurant or move for myself and my wife. I had a job for a long time that came to an end, and to continue to cook the way that I enjoy and the style that I want, it was do something like we're doing now, or find other somewhere else in the country where I could get a job at another restaurant to continue to cook the way that I want to cook. The jobs that were available at the time, 7, 8 years ago when I started to look, really didn't interest me locally. There's really banquet style that it's not my area of expertise. My expertise is to utilize savory flavors and sweet flavors and showcase things on a plate, and that wasn't available locally. So it was okay, we have a retirement fund that's there for something. It's supposed to be retirement, but
we're not ready to retire.
We weren't ready to retire, and when people walk in the door to Pirogue Grille, they walk into my retirement fund. So
nice.
That's kind of how it came to be, and finding the space and working with the bankers, going through the motions of a business plan. It's a very wonderful learning experience was for me, because I was basically computer illiterate. I came up through the ranks in the 70s and 80s and 90s, where computers were just starting to show up in the hotel kitchens and restaurant kitchens out in California and New York and Florida, where I was at. So it did present some challenges to me to write a business plan, and learned that hitting that save button is real important.
Yes, the save button is very important. So how long did it take you from the time when you said, okay, we're going to open up a restaurant, to actually opening your doors? How long was that time?
But almost a year.
Okay.
Almost a year from, okay, we're going to commit to doing this, and then opening the doors. It was pretty close to a year, maybe about 10 months.
Now, what made you want to go downtown, or was it just because that was what was available?
The idea of downtowns, it's been important to me for years. We've traveled around the world, my wife and I, and she's a big part of Pirogue Grille and the success that we have, because she's out front and I'm back in the kitchen. What we've noticed when we traveled were areas of smaller cities or larger cities where you could bounce from restaurant to restaurant. And if you wanted to do just appetizers and graze from from one place to another, that was available in many locations, and it didn't have to be areas such as Philadelphia, New York City, Los Angeles, San Francisco. It could be in smaller locations too. So I like the idea of downtowns. Plus, the conception that I had and Cheryl was that at 5 o'clock the streets roll up, so parking's not an issue.
Yeah.
And that was then, and of course now things have changed a bit. But the buildings, the architecture that you get, the high ceilings, would be lost if we found which we did look at a couple different strip malls and other locations where you just did not get the feel that we wanted.
The ambiance that you were going for. Yeah. So now, what is your food style? What is the concept of Pirogue Grille for those who have not yet been?
What we have is a 70-seat restaurant, as somewhat of a regional focus. There's local bison, lamb, The walleye pike is wild caught in Canada that we use. The salmon that we get is from Alaska. Is it frozen? Yes. But is it true Alaskan king? Yes. The people we've utilized for sourcing tend to supply us with a very nice quality of ingredients. So the regional focus gives me a little template to work with, and then we accent that with flavors from the Mediterranean and Indian and Asian cuisines, southwestern cuisines, and it's runs a fair variety of flavor profiles that it's hard to pigeonhole. When we first started, we like to talk about prairie cuisine or Midwest regional cuisine, and that's just using those international flavor profiles to accent what we find predominant in the Midwest, because Midwest feeds the world. So it makes sense to utilize the flax and the honey and the barley and the bison and the lamb and other ingredients that are, the beef, of course. So you don't have to go that far to get good products, though. Thank goodness for FedEx, UPS, Speedy Delivery Service, all those companies that are able to supply us with products out of the Twin Cities or either coast or Hawaii.
Very cool. So now it's been 6 years. What has been the best part about owning and operating your own business, and consequently the worst?
Yeah.
That's all I can say.
The best is being your own boss, no doubt. I don't have to answer to anybody except Cheryl and I. Deal with our nightly issues, whether they're with something that happens in the dining room or in the kitchen. So the best part is knowing that we're responsible for people making a wage and making a living wage. Mm-hmm. We can't do anything without the staff that we have. So that's the best part, and it's probably a little silly to say, but the best part to me is payday. Huh. Because I get to sign the checks for these people, and then they can go out and pay their mortgage or car payments, student loans, whatever. And, now maybe I don't like so much having to pay the taxes on all that stuff, but that's a separate show. But payday is probably one of the best days, just because you know that what you're doing is making a difference in somebody's life. And I think that's where it rubs off on the staff, and then that gets conveyed to our clients when they come through the door. Probably the worst part is just if you do have somebody leave, is trying to find that right person
to come in
and apply. We think we do one of the best jobs in the area as far as producing a quality dining experience, and you almost think, well, shouldn't we have a large number of people to choose from? And the labor pool is tight, so that is presenting challenges to many of us, and not just in the restaurant industry, but retail and everywhere.
In every industry, it seems.
Yeah.
So now, what would you say is your absolute favorite meal?
Absolute favorite meal?
Yeah, your favorite meal at Pirogue that you cook.
That's a tough one. It can vary from week to week. We do a wonderful Indian-inspired fenugreek cream sauce that the first time I had this, Cheryl and I were traveling in Vancouver, British Columbia, and we went to a gentleman's restaurant, Vige, and just had a stunning meal there. The cookbook from his restaurant I utilize to this day, and that fenugreek cream curry sauce is straight out of his cookbook. And we pair that with sea scallops. The way I like to have it myself is using it with our local lamb loins. And so if we sit down, which is let's see, on our anniversary and on my birthday. We sit down in the restaurant and eat, and that's it. That's typically what I'll order. So,
what about Cheryl's birthday?
We're gone. It's in
so
July.
she gets a vacation.
She gets vacation. I get to scrub tile in the kitchen or something.
Awesome.
Like
Well,
that.
that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's the way it
Yeah.
should be. So
Yeah.
now I remember back when you were featured in a magazine, like a national publication, because of your wonderful creations that you do at Pirogue. What magazine was that, and when was that now?
Gourmet Magazine, which of course is no longer, which is a bummer because it was one of our favorite magazines. They're under the Food and Wine empire, Food and Wine Magazine, excuse me. The magazine came out in November or October of 2007, which listed us as one of the 100 best places to eat in America as far as utilizing farm to market. So it was a great accolade. That is the proudest moment of my professional cooking career, and the accolades that we got off of that, and we're naturally going to market it to death for the remaining existence of
of Pirogue Grille.
Pirogue Grille, because why wouldn't you when a national publication actually spells your name right, and both the restaurant and personally, and so that was wonderful to get, and you'll take all of any kind of national press that you can get, but it's a little more difficult to get that here in North Dakota. Midwest Magazine is aware of us, and we just did a photo shoot back in September for their summer issue next year, and so they plan that far ahead. So we've been mentioned in some of those, and we'll take all of them that we can get.
Very cool. So now, you kind of brought it up. Really quick, though, before, in case you guys don't know, who we're visiting with right now is Stuart Tracy. He is the executive chef and owner of Pirogue Grille. And now I have a really kind of a fun question for you. So there are a ton of food shows out there. If you go between Food Network and Bravo and just anything. Mm-hmm. What is your favorite food show right now? What's your favorite food show?
Top Chef.
Top Chef is. Okay. Mm-hmm. And why? Why is it?
The cast of characters that they throw together for the extended period of time, the way they present the challenges, it filters out those people that know how to cook versus those people that think they know how to cook, and the speed that they are asked to work in a given period of time is reminiscent of some days, but not every day in a restaurant. So I think it's a little bit more along the terms of what is asked of people. So those part of when I do talks at high schools or junior highs for career days and things like that, I'll mention that program and a couple others where people actually have to bust their butt. Mm-hmm. And do you really want to work every weekend? Do you really want to work Mother's Day and Father's Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, Thanksgiving, Easter? Yeah. Or, if you don't, then turn your butt around at the kitchen door and find something else to do, because those are the demands that are placed on you.
Is there one challenge in Top Chef that you saw and you're like, oh, I could easily do this?
Oh, there's many.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's many.
Now, how come have you?
But I think that just comes because I finally learned how to cook. It's taken me 30 plus years.
Wow.
And you can gain the principles from culinary school, like where I went, but you need to get out in the real world. You have to have your mentors in place. Doesn't matter if you're going to be an electrician or a sheetrocker or get into magazines and working as a reporter at a newspaper. You have to have mentors along the way that are going to take you under their wing and show you things. And had I not had that opportunity to work with some of the people I worked with, then I wouldn't have as wide a gamut of culinary knowledge as I do. Because at our restaurant, we have to do all the savory items, but we also do all the sweet items. So the ice creams and the breads and the pastries and the desserts, things like that. That's
so
all
good.
That's all part of our dining experience. And the first day at culinary school, and you have 36 people sitting around this chef, or 18 people, whatever it was, because it was a long time ago, 1983. And the chef sitting up there, who wants to be a cook? And nobody raises their hand. Who wants to be a chef? And we all raise our hands. And then he's like, you can't be a chef if you don't know how to cook. And it was like, duh. And so since that day, I didn't realize it at the time, but I've thought about that day very often. Today I worked on a lamb curry dish that's cinnamon scented and got cloves and cumin and things, and that's out of that gentleman's restaurant in Vancouver, Vige. But understanding that a masala is more than just a garam masala, which is a spice blend. The masala actually is the cooking technique that they use when you stew your onions first, and then you add your tomato layer and your flavorings to that, whether it's cumin and coriander and fenugreek and turmeric and all those spices that go into that, and then you have to cook that mixture, and that's called a masala too. So these are things I've learned since we've opened the restaurant. So that's what's kind of keeps me jazzed about the restaurant. And
do you ever think you'll come out with like your own recipe book one day?
No.
Why not?
I'm not disciplined enough to do that.
Oh, okay. So now
you barely got me here.
You know what? Good point. I was starting to question. No, just kidding. So now downtown, like you had mentioned, it has changed a lot, and with the opening of several new restaurants since you started, and with the talk of more coming rather soon, does that help or hinder your business, would you say?
So far, we've noticed it as being helpful. Okay. I think you can, going after an entertainment dollar, it depends on your concept and that dollar that you're after. If it's the same dollar, as everybody else, then you're just going to get a smaller percentage of it. We still have kind of a niche, plus we have a client base that's fairly dedicated to what we try to accomplish on a daily basis, and I think of it as helpful at this point. Some young buck, hi, I'm 28, I really know how to cook, I got money, I'm going to open up a place and blow him out of the water. Hey, that's coming. That'll be here, who knows, next month, 2 years from now, whatever. And I just say, good, come in.
Okay. Very cool. So now, how do you think the parking situation, I mean, what is your opinion on that? Should they open up the ramps after 5 o'clock?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I think it's like at 4 o'clock, open sesame, baby. Gates open. It's no doubt. The dollars that this restaurant, dining, bars helps to generate to the tax base, certainly, we have discussed it with the parking authority locally. I just think it's change before change is forced on you. Other communities have looked at their situations and try to breathe life into stagnant downtowns that just can't seem to do much right. I mean, we can think back to Grand Forks actually closed off 3rd Street back in the 70s because they thought it was going to be a wonderful thing to have a closed off downtown. That didn't last very long.
Yeah.
But so decisions are sometimes made and then they back off on them. However, I think a legitimate concern for those of us that depend on people driving to us. Yeah, if the gates opened at 4 o'clock, would the city lose revenue? Yes. Tough.
It's going to help the businesses
Tough.
that the city, that the business that they're in. You know, it's going to help the city with those businesses.
Will people use the ramps? Probably not.
Probably not right away, but eventually.
You know, when you drive to Minneapolis, what's the first thing you do if you hit Nicollet? You find a parking ramp. If you're going to go cruise the restaurants on Washington Street, you find a parking ramp. You find a parking lot. You pay your $5.
Yep.
And you head out.
And you have a great time.
Why we have to forget about that because we're in Bismarck, North Dakota, I don't know.
Yeah.
But people do. You know, I'm not going to pay $1 an hour. I think it's on me. Hey, guess what? You know, it's not on me. You want to come downtown? Pay $1 an hour.
Yeah, exactly. So
I mean, we try to tell them that, but that's almost too much for them. So
I think eventually, as more people come and younger people come, and the revitalization of Bismarck, you know, eventually it'll happen. I think people will get used to the idea of that they have to pay for parking.
My hope is. That's what I hope, and I'll reiterate it again. 4 o'clock, open sesame, free.
Okay. Very cool. So now, what would you say, how do you come up with your ideas for the dishes that you have? Like, I know you said you utilize some recipes, but do you have your own where just, is it a mistake or what is it?
Learning how to cook gives you the ability sometimes to utilize. There's a book I really enjoy using called The Flavor Bible. So I can look up cod. I can look up pork chops. I can look up, you know, any type of protein, vegetable type thing. And it just gives a list of complementary ingredients. And I already have an idea of where I'm going with something, and then I might pick something out of that column of 20 that, you know, maybe I can accent the flavors that go with one of our specials or salads or desserts. When it comes to baking, baking's a science. I don't know a lot about science. And so I stick to recipes, and most of those come through the cookbooks that I collect and the magazine subscriptions that we get. I collect and categorize all of our Food and Wine, Cooking Light, Bon Appetits, used to be Gourmet, by months.
Okay.
And so whether it's January or March, April, May, I can pull out those magazines from that month and see some common flavors and see where I want to go with some things. So, and that helps with menu changes too.
How often do you guys do have menu changes?
It's not as often as I thought it would be when we opened.
Because I think people just love what you have.
You know, there are certain things that we cannot mess with, so I'm not going to try. And inevitably, when we do change something, we'll hear about it because somebody either liked the other one better or you know, the newer one is along the lines of, well, I don't eat it that way. So, you know, but no, magazines, books, TV. I don't watch a lot of TV. So.
Besides Top Chef.
That one, yeah, DVR. You know, I mean, I guess
There you go.
I got Sunday night and Monday night, and
then that's it.
That's it.
So one more quick question here: how has the Western oil boom affected your business? Are you seeing a lot of oil companies coming through and wanting to treat, or?
It's affected us positively.
Very cool.
Like most any of the businesses around here, it's been a positive dollar bottom line influence.
So now, what do you see for the future of Pirogue Grille? 10 years out, is there going to be another Pirogue Grille opened up in Bismarck, or maybe a different restaurant concept completely? What do you see?
How much time do we have?
Yeah. Well, you've got about 1 minute. Go.
Yeah. This restaurant, Cheryl and I, this is ours. This is what we do. Years ago, when I was in school, and there was a gentleman, chef at a restaurant in New York City, Lutece, Andre Soltner, lived above his restaurant, he and his wife, and he would go down in the morning, work on his veal stock, or have it going all night, things like that. And I thought, God, unambitious man, because he's got one of the best restaurants. Why doesn't he have 2 or 3 or whatever? And I've come to appreciate that quality. So I think we're capped out at 1. And it gets back to a 1960s book called the Peter Principle, where you get promoted to your level of incompetence. And I've recognized the Peter Principle with me would be having 2.
Okay. That's when you
I would reach my level of incompetence.
Very cool. And you don't want to hit that point.
I do not.
No, do not. Well, thank you so much, Stuart, for coming on this show. It's been a pleasure. And really quick, so people know, where are you located?
Sure. We're 121 North 4th Street. Okay. Downtown Bismarck. We're between Main and Broadway, and open Tuesday through Saturdays at 5 p.m.
And website?
Is piroguegrille.com.
Very
Go
cool.
ahead, Yelp us, Google us. I don't care.
You'll find it because it's a very good restaurant, and you definitely have a good website presence. So everyone, thank you again for tuning in to this edition of City Chat with City Magazine. Make sure you head to our website at thecitymag.com, where you can watch past episodes of the show, as well as make sure you pick up the November issue with Mary Van Sickle of Dakota Media Access on the cover, and have a good day.